What's going on, everybody? Spellslinger here. I just wanted to come at you with a unscripted kind of thoughts and opinions video on the upcoming October ban list. I know that there are thoughts and opinions going around for this starting to pop up as we get closer to October. This isn't going to be my official predictions for what's going on, but more so a discussion on a couple cards, more than a couple, but just my general thoughts and opinions on cards that are being mentioned and what I think about those cards. So we'll just go ahead and jump straight into it. I guess we can start with the top tier decks and hits that would probably work on them, if we're being honest. If we're talking about starting off with Tri-Brigade Zoo, definitely Revolt needs to go to 1 in my opinion. I think this is I think this is probably just a no-brainer hit at this point. It needs to go to 1 just as a consistency hit. In the same vein as like Fractal and Tenki, if you put Revolt to 1, I don't think that you necessarily need to limit or semi-limit the Tenki or the Fractal. Some other people have been saying, hey, just do a hard reset on the meta. I don't think that that's necessary just yet. I think that the meta is going to be changing a lot once Burst of Destiny comes around, introducing like Sword Soul and like the Flunderies and everything like that. But at this point, as far as Tri-Brigade and Zoos are going on right now, I think I think Revolt's just a good hit. You can put that to 1. You can maybe limit Fractal or semi-limit Tenki like people are wanting to do, but for the moment, I think that Revolt probably just a good consistency hit. If we're going directly into, I guess we could talk about the Drytron. I think Eva is a good one. I know that people are talking about like the Heralds as well, but I think Eva either being banned or limited, just recurring resources and stuff like that, and just searching out fodder for negates and stuff like that. I think Eva would probably be a good way to go about that. I know that a lot of like I said, a lot of people are wanting the Heralds to go, but I think the problem with everything is that you need to discard your fairies in order to get the negations for that, and Eva just facilitates more of the fairies that you need to discard to get those negates. So if you just hit Eva, I think that would probably be a decent hit. I know a lot of people were also mentioning that to just ban Ben 10. I don't really know how I feel about that. It could work, it could not. Honestly, it just depends on how. There's so many variables that go into that. Honestly, my take is that Eva should probably go instead of Ben 10. Leave it at 1. Leave the deck breathing. I don't know how well the deck would do with no Ben 10 or anything like that, because it is still searchable and everything like that. But in my opinion, Eva should go. Leave the Heralds. Just I think Eva's just been on thin ice for a while. Moving on to Shaddoll, I think that Schism is definitely on the chopping block. I don't think that they will hit it on this list just because of the tins that are coming up. For the same reason that I don't think that Fractal is gonna be hit. A lot of these cards are gonna be reprinted in the tins. So with the ban list being no sooner than October 1st and the tins releasing on October 1st, I don't think it would be a very good business decision on Konami's part to limit or to ban cards that they're immediately going to be reprinting. I think that'll definitely rub a lot of people the wrong way. But with that being said, Schism is definitely it's the enabler for Winda, and Winda wasn't a problem before Schism, and just the being able to get out the Schism or being able to get out the Winda so easily is I think is a problem, and a lot of people would agree with that. So Schism is definitely on the chopping block. If it gets hit on the list is kind of up in the air at this point. But we'll see. Nightmare Mermaid was reprinted in the tins and then got banned on the next list. It's just interesting how the No Sooner Than and the release of the tins line up just at the beginning of October, so we'll definitely see how that goes. The other part of the Shaddoll stuff, the Dogmatica stuff, Nadir's Servant, she could probably go to 1, 2 maybe if you want to give it that big of a consistency hit. It's searchable with Ecclesia. It's super easy to get into plays like that and just set up. And a lot of people are calling for the limiting of Nadir's Servant, and I kind of agree with that in a way. But we'll see. Again, it's kind of just the same thing as all of like the top decks right now in some way, shape, or form have ties to the tins. So we'll end up seeing, and when as the list draws closer and stuff like that, and I put out like my official prediction list, we'll see where I end up putting these cards. But I could definitely see, Servant going to 1, and everything like that. So yeah, we'll definitely see. But Nadir's Servant and Schism definitely on the chopping block for this list. So we'll definitely see where that goes. And then the last deck, top 5 deck, Prank Kids. Definitely need to see some sort of limit and stuff like that. I'm not a Prank Kids player, and I'm not super knowledgeable about Prank Kids, but obviously Pact said on live stream that Dodo Doodle Doo should probably go to 1 if Konami wanted to hit the deck in any way. This deck it's not planned for any reprints or anything. Prank Kids came out so long ago that it's not gonna be any, it's interesting with Prank Kids. If you don't want to absolutely just murder the deck, then limiting the Dodo Doodle Doo would probably be the way to go. Just to not have recoverability late game and stuff like that. But honestly, I could definitely see them limiting this, because if they limit something from all of the top decks and leave Prank Kids untouched, then Prank Kids will just run away with everything. So if they are going to be hitting all of the top decks on some level, I definitely could see them hitting the Doodle Doo just to compensate for power levels and everything like that. But moving on from there, the big 1-2 Verte and Dragoon, I don't see any of this getting hit. I know a lot of people are calling for some sort of hit on Dragoon. They want to cut off the Verte, ban the Red Eyes fusion, ban Dragoon. I honestly don't think that that's going to happen. One, just being that they could milk reprinting Dragoon in some way, shape, or form. But also, just banning Verte, it wouldn't be fair to Predaplant players, and I'm a big proponent of ban the. If there's a problem, if there is a problem card, then ban that card. If you want to see Dragoon gone, then ban it. Don't make other archetypes suffer for the sins of a specific card. When Union Carrier was in the game, using that to equip the Buster Whelp to like Boral Load with like the Hulk Vibrax combos back when like Ed Emancipator and Dragon Link were huge. They should have just banned Union Carrier. There are other ways to make that happen, but it's not as easy, and it's not as consistent as Union Carrier was, and it took them so long after. I know that Konami has to sell the cards and sell their reprints, but in a similar sense, it's not, in my opinion, it's not fair to the decks that have nothing to do with Dragoon, Predaplant specifically, for them to be hurt in that way. So if they are going to do something, just ban Dragoon. The OCG has it banned. It cut off the head. At this point, if Dragoon is becoming a big enough problem, like there was some stat where, like, I don't remember who or where, what tournament it was, but it was like if Dragoon was summoned turn 1, then like 60 or 70% of those games were won or something like that. But if Dragoon is becoming that big of a problem and people just don't want to deal with it anymore, ban Dragoon. Don't ban the Anaconda. People are gonna find ways to get Dragoon out regardless, just because of how powerful a card it is. But I honestly don't see I don't see any part of this getting hit. They can make a lot of money reprinting this into future sets and stuff like that. So I don't see it getting hit. Moving on to like more extra deck stuff, Borbo and Zeus. I definitely think that Zeus should go to 1, no question. Having the ability to go into multiple Zeus over the course of a game is just broken. Zeus is an extremely powerful card that is not once per chain, not once per turn, and can just turn the tide so easily. Put it to 1. That's definitely is going to be an early prediction from me, is just to put it to 1. It's again, I've said it before in this video, but there are a lot of cards that are getting reprinted, and Zeus is the one card that is confirmed for the tins at up to this point, or at least to the point where I'm recording this video on September 7th. But yeah, Zeus to 1 absolutely needs to happen. I've heard people call for banning Borbo just because it is such an easy way to go into Zeus to clear boards and stuff like that. If you're playing like Zodiac in any way, specifically like Tri-Brigade Zodiac or whatever, not Tri-Brigade Zodiac, but just Zodiac variants in any way, just make Borbo attack directly and then overlay for Zeus and can completely turn the tide. So I don't think that Borbo will end up getting banned, but I've seen people calling for it, so there is something to think about as well. But an early prediction, Zeus going to 1, I think absolutely needs to happen. And then the last card that we're going to talk about is Imperial Order. I think I saw House of Champs John's video on it where he said that Imperial Order is becoming more of a problem with the ability to deck thin so heavily and just dig for cards like your power 1-ofs, with cards like Pot of Extravagance and Pot of Duality and stuff like that. But with Imperial Order shutting off a third of the game and with spell cards being so prevalent in today's meta, I could see Imperial Order getting banned again. I would like to think that it won't, but I definitely understand the argument for it. I understand the argument against it. I don't really know how to feel, honestly. I like the card at 1 currently, but I would absolutely understand if it ended up going to 0. So just more stuff to think about. Like I said, I'll have an official prediction video a week or 2 before October, probably closer to about a week, a little more than that. But as far as Imperial Order goes, I don't know. I don't know where to put it. As people are so torn on this, just make Phoenix and deal with it, or that it's just unhealthy for the game. I don't know where I fall into either of those categories, but I guess we will see where Konami takes it if they end up deciding that they want to put it somewhere. Electromite, Harp Horror, and Colossus. Eternal format, bring them back. They brought back Engage and they brought back Mirage Stalio. If worst thing that happens is that Colossus ends up being this super powerful floodgate that it was, and you put it back. Give Harp Horror a chance. Give Orcust a chance to shine. Pendulum. I mean, Electromite should have never been banned in the first place. You have cards like Halqifibrax and running around. Halqifibrax is Isolde, and all these cards that have a similar effect as Electromite. Just bring it back. There's no reason that it should have been banned in the first place. And if it ends up being like a huge problem with the current Pendulum cards that are currently unbanned, then you can put it back on the next list. I have such an issue with the ban list and cards that are on there that shouldn't be on there, that if you give it a chance to come off just to see if it works or not, then you just put it back on if it ends up being an issue. That's what the limited section and semi-limited section are for, in my opinion. But Electromite, Harp Horror, and Colossus, bring them back to 1 just to see how they work. And yeah, I would love to see him come back, play full, not full power Orcust, but just to see Harp Horror back in the action, see Colossus back in the action. ThunderDragon is such a cool deck to play and see. It's not fun to play against with your opponent taking like 25 minutes per turn, but you get the idea. If they brought back Engage and they brought back Mirage Stalio, it's only fair that you bring back Harp Horror and Colossus. And Electromite is so... It never got a chance. It legitimately never got a chance, and I think they should definitely bring it back. Those are going to be on my prediction as well, just because it seems like the logical next step after Engage and Mirage Stalio got unbanned. But yeah, wanted to touch on those a little bit at the very least. But Max C, no prediction discussion is complete without it. I'm kind of with House of Champs on this one, where it needs to be at 0 or it needs to be at 3. If it's at 1, then it's just sacky if it's used against you and it feels just the worst. So OCG has it at 3, but I know that OCG comparisons aren't super fair to make most of the time, just because it is such a different format. They have other sets, and just the ban list is so different, and they have cards that we don't have access to, and the other way around, we have access to cards that the OCG doesn't have. But Max C, it needs to be either at 0 or 3. There's no in between for this, just because it is the most powerful hand trap in the history of the game. So if it comes back to 3, so be it. If it stays banned, so be it. But Max C, it is what it is. I feel like everyone kind of has the same take on it, where it needs to be at 0 or it needs to be at 3. There are people who say that, it needs to come back to 3. It's healthy for the game, which, other people disagree with to an unhealthy extent, going into like threats and stuff like that, which in no way, shape, or form is fine. But, Max C, it's a polarizing card, and it has the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community splits. As far as I go, honestly, I think I'd prefer to see it stay banned. But if it comes back to 3, then it shakes things up, and a completely different deck could. It actually, now that I think about it, absolutely needs to stay banned, because the insects can now search this. Do you want to see? I just remembered that. Good thing for unscripted videos, right? Maxi absolutely needs to stay banned, because if it comes back even to 1, then B Trooper becomes a tier 0 deck by default, just because they can search Max C, which is kind of stupid. I definitely would not like to see that in the game. So scratch everything I just said. Max C needs to stay banned. That's that. But yeah, so that was an early ban list predictions on my end. I definitely love to hear your thoughts on the cards that I have listed. Rattle off in the comments. And like I said, I'll definitely be coming at you with an official prediction for specific cards for the ban list coming up in a week or two, or just a little bit before October. But yeah, thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. I have seen a little bit of an improvement on the viewers that are subscribed. Or total views from subscribers. I think it went up a couple percents overall, but still wanting to work on that number a little bit. So please subscribe, comment, like. I definitely love to hear your opinions again. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Have a great day.